Let's do Notre Dame.
Okay.
Clemson
all right.
first.
Well, if you want me to start spitting dragon breath 15 minutes into this thing, then we'll do it.
I feel like you've earned it. I told you so. So, Ari, the floor is yours.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I think I have to say it to you or the people listening. Maybe everybody who got mad at me on Tuesday for saying that Clemson was basically a fraud and reminded me of 14 Florida State. Like the Clemson mentions on Tuesday were just flooding.
They
And let me say,
they knew in their hearts of hearts.
Let me just say,
they were exactly like
Clemson fans. If you were giving me crap last week about the 2014 Florida State comparisons, let me tell you something. You're right. I was wrong. Florida State didn't lose.
Yeah, you didn't have Dalvin Cook.
You're lucky to get that comparison.
Yeah.
Not even close to being as good as that team was. So, the thing about their offense was they had flashes where it looked good, but the symptoms of what we saw tonight of complete and utter incompetence, they couldn't move the football on Notre Dame, were there. Like you knew it was, they still had it in them. And even if you watch the live show, you'll tell me, Clemson's in trouble. I said before the game started, the line was weird. I think one of their best defenders was out of the game. But like they just couldn't score. They couldn't move the football consistently. DJ got benched again and then brought back in. Like it's just not a very good football team this year. And it's a very good football team in comparison to 95% of the sport. They're good. They're Clemson. They win, but they're not elite this year. And you could see it early on in the season. And we thought we were going to get to a point where, hey, there's nobody who could beat them on the schedule, but it turned out that somebody could, and that team was Notre Dame. And you got to give Notre Dame credit because they were on the mat, and they beat the crap out of them. And if you watch the second quarter, too, it wasn't even like, you remember the one thing that we said on the show we were both wrong about, Andy? I can't think about a world where Notre Dame is moving the ball on Clemson at will on the ground and they can't throw it. It's like they ran the ball down their throats the entire second quarter.
I was so wrong about that. I was shocked.
So, that's
just shocked.
I don't know what, I don't like this, like I told you so thing because I'm wrong so often. I shouldn't like gloat when I'm right. But like, this is a show and like,
you've been playing the long game on this one though. I think you've earned it.
I don't have any, vested interest in it. It's just like calling it as it is. And it is what it was. And now it opens up the door to a tremendous few months of podcasting because there isn't a team that's just taking up a spot. Now that there's a spot for the taking and a lot of teams that want that spot.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Is Clemson definitely out?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think they're definitely out.
Chaos
I don't know. They got their butt. Well, I was talking about blowout losses. Right. Like if we're going to say that Tennessee's out because they got blown out, Clemson got their butts kicked. Like this was 35-14 was I would say that Notre Dame blew out Clemson worse than Georgia blew out Tennessee. Could you get there with me on that?
I would agree with that. Yes.
So I actually believe that they are out.
So I'm with you. I think from a practical standpoint of if you get to where Clemson is in the mix for 4 or 5, the committee will pick somebody else because they don't want to put Clemson. They will not believe in Clemson. If the options
are Clemson, here's the thing. I think I'm pretty certain that Tennessee is probably going to be there at the end of the year as a one-loss team, right? So you have to think about blockers right now. And I'm going to write a column about this on Monday. But is Tennessee an Oregon blocker? Yes, because if you have to pick between those two, you're probably going to go with the team that beat Alabama and lost worse or lost in a better way on the road
to Georgia. Yes.
And there was a true road game, right?
Right.
So, Tennessee's resume is just better as well. So if you have that blocker there, who's blocking Clemson? Because both of those teams probably block Clemson, right? If Oregon's a one-loss conference champion and their only losses to Georgia, that's a far more excusable thing.
A 12-1 Big 12 champ TCU should also block.
Probably, yes. And the thing about it is, if they would have lost to Notre Dame by 3 and it was raining and it was just one of those games, you could talk yourself back into, hey, they've got a good coach, a proven coach. They've got talent on the roster. Maybe this is the 4th best team. But the fact of the matter is that it is a blowout loss against a team that lost some really bad games this year. And I know that going to Notre Dame in this environment probably isn't the easiest place to play. But that I would say that loss tonight was worse than Oregon and Tennessee's loss to Georgia.
I think that's fair. I also am not
Those
sure.
teams got their butts kicked, but they got their butts kicked by the best team in the country.
I'm also not sure Clemson finishes.
Yeah, they might lose again. I honestly
lose.
North Carolina
If they could
beat
lose
them.
that game, well, if they could lose that game, they could lose to Louisville, they could lose to South Carolina, and they could lose to North Carolina.
Yeah, because it's like not even a conference game, so
they're not losing to Miami, but
they're still completely within their controlling their own destiny world to win the conference, and they could be a one-loss conference champ without a conference loss. But I don't think that that offense is going to put them in a position to absolutely 100% beat everybody left on their schedule. And if like Notre Dame is a flawed team this year, there's no question. And Notre Dame just took it to them in every facet of the game, and weather is an excuse. So I think that they are done. They have had their time in the shine. Their helmet's not getting them in. And you have Clemson that's absolutely out. You've got Alabama that's absolutely out. And you have a bunch of really good teams now that are in that mix for 3 and 4.
Is
with
Notre
Ohio State
Dame
and Georgia still alive here?
Notre Dame has clearly gotten better as the season has gone on. Drew Pine has definitely gotten better since being forced into action after Tyler Buckner got hurt. Drew Pine was doing stuff with his legs that we've not seen at all this season.
Yeah.
Is Drew Pine going to save me $1,000 this year, Ari?
Yeah. Well, you got to be careful, buddy, because
PTR
if they keep getting too good, then you're going to give a USC another quality win. Now that's the thing. Did Ohio State just get a better quality win now because Notre Dame beat Clemson? Like, is Ohio State viewed differently? I don't think that stuff really.
I don't think people were already viewing Ohio State pretty well. So I don't.
No,
think
I know, but like you don't get
really
that extra feather in your hat. Like you don't just change your mind. Like I think that the win for Notre Dame was it hurt Clemson more than it helps Notre Dame as a candidate. You know, I don't know if Notre Dame's going to sneak back into the back half of the top 25 now, which would be incredible because they definitely are in our rankings.
Be like the Ass Clown rankings. Got to put Notre Dame in there somewhere.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, so the thing is that we have two definite teams that we don't even have to talk about when it comes to the playoff right now. Georgia and Ohio State. Those two are in, right? Michigan is still a part of the conversation.
Well, if Michigan beats Ohio State, they just flip.
Right. So Michigan probably should be 3, right? Like, who's going to be 3?
Okay, Georgia's going to be 1. Ohio State's going to be 2. I would put Michigan 3, TCU 4.
Yeah. So here's the thing that we're not considering is that if Ohio State and Michigan play a close game, the loser of that game might actually
get a chance,
better odds of getting in and better looks than Clemson would.
Well, like, right. 11-1 Michigan and 11-1 Tennessee, or 11-1 Ohio State and 11-1 Tennessee.
If Michigan goes on the road and loses to Ohio State by 3, they're still a more attractive candidate to me than Clemson would be. So they are so dumb. But you have teams that are still technically alive now, and we can make our list again. But there are 2 spots now instead of 1 that are kind of up for the taking, and we're going to get some new blood in here that we're not necessarily accustomed to seeing in the recent past. You've got Michigan that's still alive, obviously, playing Ohio State. TCU's still alive. Oregon's alive. USC's alive.
UCLA's alive.
LSU's alive
right now.
Is Ole Miss alive?
Ole Miss is not alive, not in control. They're alive, but not in control.
Yeah, because of the side of the conference they're in.
Yeah.
UCLA is still technically alive.
Yes, they're playing as we speak.
So there's a lot of teams that are alive in 2 spots instead of 1, which makes this whole discussion more fascinating.